you've got your website here, the book's finished, and that's sort of the phase that you're moving into is getting it out to readers. What's tell me about your strategy for that and how you've approached it.
That's an interesting question, because we're still learning, we're still figuring things out, and we're way ahead of where we used to be. Mm-hmm. Like, we've learned so much, but we're still very open to, if people have great ideas, then we're very open to hear them.
Yeah.
So one of the things that we've started doing with this, since we started the launch yesterday, is we're working with the MailChimp. Basically, you get an account with MailChimp, and it allows you can connect it so that when people, like with us, when people buy it on Amazon, then it'll automatically subscribe them to our future fan email, and they can unsubscribe anytime they want to. But basically, it's like, hey, here you're going to get some cool promos of upcoming books, so that way we can keep people abreast of what's coming next and get them excited, and that helps with sales. If they like the story they've read so far. Yeah. And then it's also a fun outlet for us to do some of these fun kind of behind the scenes Easter egg cameos and cool little details and stuff like that.
Until then, what we've done is we've printed a relatively low print run, I think of like 500 copies of the graphic novel to fulfill the Kickstarter, and we knew that there would be extras that I could sell at conventions, because I still do anywhere from 3 to 6 conventions a year, and then so I could easily sell books off of the table, and I wanted to have them on hand to do that, and then just so that we, through the same distributor or warehouse, I should say, that could on a small print order fulfill our Kickstarter for us, which was Oxeye Media, and they fulfilled our Kickstarter. They're also warehousing the surplus books, and then as Amazon sales go through, they ship and distribute those for us based on Amazon sales.
So we don't have 500 books.
They're not sitting in our.
Yours doesn't look like my office.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah. We were just like, we don't want to.
So they shipped us a few extra copies so that I could sell them at shows, and we had them ship all the other artists who've worked on the books. We had a limited number of, because our Kickstarter campaign had ones that were going to be autographed. This was an interesting thing. We had them ship us ahead of time a print plate pre-cut. So there was like, how many pages were on a?
Just 2.
No, there's more.
No, it was 4.
Yeah, there was like 4 uncut double page pages out of the graphic novel.
Like signatures.
Yeah, signature plates that we could sign. And then they were shipped flat. We would sign, I don't remember how many copies, I don't know, a number of
around 200.
Yeah. And then we would just pack it all back up, ship it flat. So Quinn signed them, shipped them to me. I signed them, we shipped them back to the printer. And then they got inserted into the signed copies. So then we would number them and sign them. And then, because part of we didn't have to do that, but we were like, no, it said on the Kickstarter reward that some people would get signed copies, and we are going to do that. So, it's one of those things where one little sentence in a reward can come back to bite you.
Yeah.
And it's
we
not
don't know. We're like,
it's
easy.
Thing.
How hard could it be to sign the book and send it to them?
It's not necessarily a bad thing, but you just have to jump through a lot of hoops to learn the process. And once you learn it, it's, some of it we would do again. Some of it we're like, it's not worth the hassle, but.
Yeah. Well, and I'll say too, like this is, and one of the things that keeps me sane in dealing with all these and then other various life realities and challenges is, there's a really good quote that I think of all the time, and it was by Elder David A. Bednar, he's one of the leaders of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and he says there are some lessons that can't be learned; they have to be earned. And I love that, because there's so many things you're like, you can try to fill someone's head with all this information. You're like, this is all the stuff you're going to need, and they're like, okay, but until like they are in the trenches and they experience those things for themselves and they make mistakes and they're like, oh, that makes sense, or they're like, oh wow, I didn't know that. So it's, I think it helps me not to be too hard on ourselves, because we're like, we're doing the best we can with what we have. Learn as much as you can, but just realize it's okay. You're going to make mistakes along the way. You're going to have bumps on the road, and then you'll learn with them and you'll deal with them. And don't feel bad for not knowing everything right from the get-go. That's impossible. So.
I mean, the big thing is you got the book done. you have, I mean, not just that you got the book done, but you're moving forward on more. And to me, that's such a cool success story to see that, especially again coming from a time when there wasn't really, I mean, there were comics on Kickstarter, but it was still such like a new thing.
Yeah.
You know,
well, there's so many things now that like just going through the Kickstarter back end now of our and now they've updated a lot of the interface, and there's so many things now where I'm like, oh my gosh, that would have been so nice to have when they started, because they were figuring things out, right? They didn't know what was going to evolve, and so now it's like for each person you can click like, what's the status? Is it pending? Is it delayed? Is it on its way? Is it shipped? And I mean, so you can really keep track of all that stuff. Whereas before we kind of had to comb through everything one by one and
update
just stuff like that.
Absolutely.